to the Board Game Community Show. I'm your host, Riley Stark. Join me as I get to know folks in this community. They could be designers or streamers, podcasters, YouTubers, publishers, whatever. Really anything with an "er" at the end of its title is welcome here on the Board Game Community Show.
Welcome back to the Board Game Community Show. Today, I am rejoined by the great Skye Larsen. How you doing, Skye?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
Good. And then joining me for the first time, and not in the normal way of, oh, we're going to get to know him. I already kind of rambled about him in episode 100, but Matt Dinger.
I'm so glad to be in the presence of greatness. I'm just over here fangirling.
Yeah, me too. Skye is such an amazing designer, human being. I just, I get to fangirl too.
Oh, brother.
Incredible.
Just to make Skye really uncomfortable, right?
Yep. It's a good way to start.
Yeah. I mean,
get that out of the way.
Right now, even when does do you know when the Golden Geek Awards end?
I do not. I didn't check on that.
I should have checked that before we started, because I think that people will still have a couple days to vote. And so go and vote. Paperback Adventures, which is Skye's baby, is one of the nominees. So I voted for it. It was my number one choice.
Yeah, vote for Skye. I had Skye sign my rule book last night. So,
yeah,
incredible experience.
Transcendent. Yeah, it looks like it's May 7th is the cutoff from what I can tell. So,
okay. So, Sunday. Yeah, Sunday's the last day to vote, I think.
Okay. That's probably it.
Go fast, vote. And there's other amazing podcasts in there. There's other categories. So many cool things. I voted in nearly everything. I think there was only one category where I didn't know any of the games. That's a great shame as a board gamer, especially as a podcaster, I guess.
There's so many though.
Yeah.
I don't think you should feel shame about that, Riley.
Thank you. I don't really, I guess. A lot of them I don't even have any interest in trying, to be honest. I'm sure they're great, but if somebody asked me to play them, I would love to play anything. I just love playing board games.
Seriously.
So Matt and I know each other through Twitter, found out he lives like 10 minutes away from me, and we've gotten to know each other a little bit, huh?
Yes, I even put a picture on my Twitter because Riley told me I was a creep.
In the most loving way.
Yes, absolutely. No, my love language is sarcasm. That's what I've told these folks here on the call. So, but yeah. I mean, I started playing board games during the pandemic, and my husband is not super into them. So I think I was looking for community and found Board Game Twitter, and then found Riley. Well, I found your podcast first, I think. And then I was like, oh man, he lives like very near me. So then was the creepy reach out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you did. I remember I just was like waiting a day or two, debating whether to reply or not. And I was like, well, okay, yeah, I'll reply. And
I'm glad you did too, Riley.
Yeah. And then we got to meet at SaltCon, and I introduced you to Skye there.
Yes.
Now we're all the best of friends.
Best of friends.
Absolutely.
So we all got together last night because Matt here, he loves the game Too Many Bones. He has it. Skye and I have always been interested in playing that. And so we got together and we played it for the first time for two of us. And I thought it'd be fun to do. I mean, this is going to be a no edits episode. So maybe already there's some little awkward pauses or uhs and ums that I didn't normally I would edit out, but I'm not going to this time. So I thought it'd be fun for us to just kind of share our next day thoughts, and then Matt can share his wisdom of having a plethora of plays. Here we go. Too Many Bones. You guys ready for this?
So ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. Too Many Bones came out in 2017. Designer Josh J. Carlson and Adam Carlson. Artist Josh J. Carlson. I didn't know he did the art too. And Anthony Latorno. And publisher Chip Theory Games. I might just, read this little description here. Unless you want to take a crack at just describing what the theme of it is.
Well, you should read the description. I don't know that I can do you justice on a lightly edited podcast. I wouldn't be able to describe something on the fly either. So, all right. Too Many Bones comes loaded for bear by breaking into a new genre, the dice builder RPG. This game takes everything you think you know about dice rolling and turns it on its head. Dripping with strategy, this fantasy-based RPG puts you in the skin of a new race and takes you on an adventure to the Northern Territories to root out and defeat growing enemy forces and, of course, the infamous baddie responsible. Team up or go it alone in a 1 to 4 player co-op or solo play campaign. With over 100 unique skill dice and 4 to 7 classes to choose from, every battle is its own mini challenge to figure out. Your adventure will consist of 8 to 12 battles before you reach your final destination and face off against one of a number of possible kingpins in order to win. Along the way, you will be faced with storyline decisions that will quickly have you weighing risk, reward, odds, and logic. With dice woven into every aspect, your party will also face other decisions: when to rest, when to explore, or even which fights to pursue. The encounter cards offer fun plot twists and some comic relief, all while setting the stage for your next battle. That was a lot to read, but whatever. You all get it. Unedited. I thought that I should have read through it before, because I thought that it might also describe some of the mechanisms of it. I mean, the main thing, right, is the dice building. So you're going to be rolling dice, building your tech tree, right? Definitely. So for the most part, you have like 16 skill dice and then 4 kind of core abilities that are pretty standard in any like RPG type thing that you can grow from that standpoint. But yeah, you can only roll a certain amount of dice based on your dexterity. And it's really about making the choices in your tech tree that are going to be the most fun and have the most impact.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool to be able to, you had described the game and I was kind of understanding it. You did a great job explaining it, but it's one of those things where when you don't necessarily fully understand it until you start doing it. Like, all of a sudden it clicked that like, oh yeah, I'm taking this dice from my reserve and then putting it into the little, it's this nice mouse pad of your skill tree and your stats. And so then I put that in the right spot. They're all numbered, which made it really nice. I noticed that partway through that it was like, oh, this dice says 10. So that's spot number 10 on my skill tree. And like, just very clever how they did it. Very intuitive, I think. It starts to come together pretty quick. At least that was my thought on that. And then, I put that in there and then later I can choose to roll that. My character was, what was Gasket? My character was Gasket, so I was a robot. And I didn't exhaust my dice when I used it. So I didn't necessarily experience that part of it. But was that something, how does that feel to you guys when you had to like exhaust a dice? Because then it's out for the rest of that battle. You don't get it back until the end of the day.
I mean, to me, it's just a different way of doing a fairly standard thing, which is kind of having one use powerful abilities. Like I had a heal, and so it was about how can I best time this heal? Spoilers, I guess, I never had to like do this, but like I had like a multiplier die as well. So I imagine like a lot of it would be like building up to this, like, I want to get off this huge impactful heal. So when you have these kind of exhausting elements or things like that, it's something we did in Paperback Adventures, that it lets you kind of pack a lot of punch into the ability itself. So it's like, you really want to find the right moment to use it.
I love that you got a plug-in for your own game.
Oh, of course.
Well done.
I was thinking of bringing it up too, because it's like, each letter has its own use. If you're going to use that power, then you have to exhaust that card. So totally similar there.
That's where my mind goes. Go figure. So
and to me, it's part of that puzzle. It's like, okay, what are we trying to accomplish? When do I need to time this well? And I feel like other games I've played, we actually had more battles. That was something that was interesting. I think it was partially the tyrant. Like usually those tyrant encounters have more battles, but our tyrant encounters had different decisions to make. Yeah. So that comes into play a little bit more in the battles themselves.
Is the encounter deck built, is there a different encounter deck for each tyrant?
So you put in like a certain number of encounters based on the number of days, and then you add however many tyrant encounters come with that tyrant.
Oh, okay.
So our tyrant had lots of them. We fought, I think it's pronounced Ammonite, who was kind of this mushroom person. We talked about how it seems like we were playing The Last of Us, which was fun. People were infected by mushrooms. And so they had like 5 tyrant encounters, which based on my experience is at least a couple more than most of the tyrants. I feel like most tyrants have 2 encounters. And then, like I said, at least the encounters that we ran into were not battles themselves, the tyrant encounters.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that. And I didn't know exactly how the encounter deck was built or anything. We were lucky enough to be able to just have you set it all up. And it really didn't take that long with how big the game was to set it up. I was surprised. Granted, this box, is a big, beautiful, sorted box. But you got it set up really quick. The encounters, though, I thought were really fun and interesting. I thought we were going to have more battles as it started to go on. When I very first saw the game, I didn't realize it was like a series of battles. I thought it was just like you just play a battle. But there's so much more to it. You're playing through, right? We had 6 to 8 days. We could fight this tyrant on the 6th day. And then, is that right?
Yeah. Because we'd earned enough gears.
Yeah. But we had to defeat him by the 8th day or we lose, right?
Yeah.
So even if we went up against him and we fought at him and lost on the 6th day, would we get to try again on the 7th day?
You can, as long as you have days left.
Okay.
And that's part of it too, is you're kind of deciding, okay, if I do another encounter, I may be able to kind of level up my character or grow a little bit more. But then at the same time, there's a mechanism where the battles get tougher the longer you go. And it's really just like a multiplication of the day that you're on and the number of gear locks that you have in your party. And so you're weighing I can get tougher, but the enemy is going to get tougher too.
Yeah, and the gear lock are the fantasy race. They're kind of like these little almost gnome elf-like things, right? Like they're like skinny little gnomes with elf ears or something. I don't know. That's
they're kind of creepy.
They are kind of
in a beautiful way.
Yeah. The art in this is pretty.
The art is something.
I don't know if you want to mention that fear or not, or just move on from there.
Oh, you're just going to bring out like all my weird fears through your podcast bit by bit.
I know. I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, I can mark this down and edit this part out. So
no,
that's what gets the listener, Skye. That's what we're coming in for.
Yeah.
So in addition to my dislike, not fear of clowns, I would say I have a bit of a fear, uneasiness of, it's called tryptophobia, I believe, but it's the fear of like holes in things, which there's just certain things that look a little gross and creepy, and it makes sense because he was a fungal, they were a fungal monster and the Ammonite or whatever, and so yeah, just based off that art right there, there was like some holes in it, and I was like, I don't know, it looks a little creepy, but we went and fought it anyway. So
yeah, we conquered your fear.
Yes, no longer grossed out by images.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly how it worked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I felt guilty at first because I was like, "Oh, I think this one looks the coolest," and then you brought that up, and I was like, "We really don't have to," and you're like, "No, it's fine." I was like, "I'm not like whatever." Yeah, we had
It was
fun.
fine, and we didn't. I mean, the art didn't show like it wasn't like this consistent theme of showing all these weird, fungal art pieces. It was just the bad guy themselves. So
Yeah. And so like the tyrant is the big baddie that you're going up against in that like scenario, right? The set of X amount of days. And then baddies are just any bad guy on the field, right?
Yeah. And there are types that get you determine which types to include based on the tyrant as well.
Oh, okay.
So it's good though, because it gives you some like variability.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I really liked how you determined so there's these chips, right? Most of these things are chips. Chip theory games, who figured? And they're really nice components, nice like kind of poker chip style components. So the bad guys were these chips, and they were stacks of 1, 5, and 20. Is that right?
Yep.
And so depending on the day and then the number of gear locks in your party, you would generate your encounter when you had a battle encounter. And so it would be like on the first day, we'd be, day 1, and then 3 gear locks. So we have 4, right?
Yep.
Is that right? Okay. And so we just take 4 ones and put it on there. Day 2, now we're at 5. So we would just take 1 5 chip and put it down. And it just goes on like that. So day 5, we have, and there's other things that factor into it as well, right?
Yeah. Sometimes like we had conditions that meant we had to add numbers to the baddie queue, or like your encounter will sometimes say add 5 to the baddie queue or add a 5-point baddie or something like that.
Yeah. It ends up just being this kind of mix and match of like take the biggest number and then the remainder you will put into the ones, right? And spawn them. And so you might have 4 enemies, you might have 1 enemy, but it's going to be tougher. I thought that was really clever. I haven't seen a game really generate bad guys that way.
Yeah, I enjoyed that as well. I don't know if I've seen that, especially with like the steps, of like just basically add up to this number, but fill it up with the highest tier ones first. But it was a fun way of doing that, and you get the feel of like kind of like a mini boss or like an elite enemy along with kind of the little minions around side them. And and the fact that it's kind of random for me is a plus. Some people I could see that bouncing off of them because you could just get a really unfair combination. But I thought it was fun because you just have a new problem to deal with that you kind of just have to figure out tactics for.
Yeah. I also feel like if you have a problem with that, then a game based on a bunch of dice rolling is maybe not for you. And it doesn't have to be for everybody. But yeah, if you're real worried about probability and chance, then yeah.
That's the thing though, that I as I was driving home and thinking about this game, I was thinking about how awesome the dice rolling actually was. Because, that's how you get stuff done. That's how you attack people and generate generate healing or damage or defense, all of that stuff, right? But you're never wasting a dice, because if you roll, let's say, they're all 6-sided dice, so 1 through 5 are going to be some number. So like one of mine had, I think, 3 1s and 2 2s, and then one side of nearly every dice that I saw had bones on it, some crossbones, and so those are the too many bones. But if you roll that, you don't get, it's not like you can change it into a 1 unless you have an ability or anything. You just take it and you put it on your board. What was that thing called? Now I'm forgetting what that was. The backup plan.
Yes.
It came back. So the backup, you put these bones on a slot in the backup plan, and then there's kind of meters. And so there's like a level 1. Mine didn't have a level 2. I don't know if other ones have like level 2. So if you have 2 dice in there. Did you have a level 2, Skye?
Yeah, mine just was 1 through 6, I believe.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, so mine had like 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then if you get to 6, then you get to level up your innate ability permanently, and that would be amazing. I would love that. Right? That's a permanent upgrade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I do, so, and we saw some of this. And I told you I'm a sucker for deluxe components, so that's what this is all about for me. However, there was a point at which Riley was like, yeah, but you'd have to get all the upgrades to like really love this. And it's like, no, like the only upgraded thing that I had was the health chips. Everything else was like really what comes out of the box. But like what I actually meant to get to right now was dice are used in every possible way they can be. So like some are counters, some you roll. There are some encounters that happen where you have to flick dice at other dice, or where you have to stack dice into a tower of a certain size and get rewards based on that. So like it is ridiculous, but like it's obviously the point is like just how over the top it is. And it's like, okay, what is every possible way we can use this?
That's insane. Yeah, it's so clever. And that's right. All 3 of our characters played very differently. Granted, we weren't flicking dice or anything like that. But, you know, like I was a robot. I was immune to poison and all these other status effects, which we didn't realize. And we thought I died. And then it was like, wait a minute. And then I came back into the battle and it was epic. And then
that was a turning point for us.
That was especially against the bad, you know, a tyrant that's so poison focused. I'm guessing that makes a lot of sense why a lot of enemies probably had the poison attribute. I imagine they might have been part of his set. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The bog ones with the little mushrooms.
Yeah.
But also why I think we did pretty well. I think part of that was like figuring out the puzzle of the end boss, and part of that was you couldn't be poisoned. And a lot of the mechanisms relied on like that becoming a pretty critical weakness in the battles.
Yes, that was because I didn't have a lot of life. I had like 1 starting health, which is not a lot at all, right? Like you guys all had, I think your starting health were 5
each.
Yeah. And so I had high defense. So generally I had, you know, I would roll at least 1 or 2 defense die on my turn, and I would get some bonuses there. But I guess talking about characters, this is the most intimidating part of the game. Is that it is a big sheet, bigger than like I don't know what size that would be. Maybe it's just like, you know, a full regular size piece of paper almost, but they're PVC. So they're really nice components. And the PVC on this felt great. I know I was going off on Fugitive, like bouncing back and forth between whether I liked him or not. Cause I was like, oh, I can't tell yet. Like it's new to me, but doing this one, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm sold. Yeah, I'm sorry.
We're a Matt especially. Oh no, it's fine. I don't know if I love the PVC cards in Fugitive. I mean, they're really nice, but yeah, like a deck of cards you have to shuffle, you have to stack. But like for like a player aid, like yeah, it felt really nice, you know?
Yeah. They're hard to pick up, but the plus side is you can play it in the bathtub.
Yeah. And you know, I hope we do that next time.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
Or hot tub it up and too many
there
bones.
We go.
Sounds very safe. No dice will be lost.
Oh no. Hot tub, too many bones. Great. We'll stream it. Nobody wants that.
Hot tub stream.
I'll start working out.
Yeah, same here.
I'll start eating more. Yeah, like the character sheet, right? I was going on about that. It's double-sided. There is a lot to this thing, like a ton of, well, even just off of that, like there's a ton of keywords for enemies, but then each character has their own skills and skill tree and what they do and what they mean and different dice and what those dice mean. And then innate abilities that just are passive abilities that happen, you know, the setup stuff. That was really, really intimidating. And we even, you know, like I read through it all, and I think the first battle, all of a sudden I realized like, oh, I'm supposed to have these starting dice out. Oh, I'm supposed to have this work this way. It like took a couple rounds of combat for me to realize, oh, that makes sense. Oh, I see what I did here. I messed that up. Oh, well, like it would have given me a bonus or it would have hurt me. Or even remembering that I was immune to these status effects. Like earlier in the game, right, I got affected by a status effect that I shouldn't have, and I rolled one less dice for a turn. So it's like, well, like not too big of a deal. Forgot I couldn't use items with my character. Like there's a lot to one character to know, especially for your first play. I think now knowing the game and taking a new character, I could focus just more on the character than learning the mechanisms and having it all click better.
So this, frankly, is why I love playing games with you two. And I mean, even like the full group that we played at SaltCon. So I was a little bit intimidated and thought like, okay, these people are going to be like really competitive and like, demand like, especially in a co-op game, that everything is perfectly optimized and all of that. But you all are far more focused on having fun. And this was also like the key to, I think, like crunchy or heavier games, is to realize that you are not going to get everything right and just be okay with that. And it was like some of the mistakes we made were in our favor and some were actually worse for us. And just a sort of philosophy of, I'm sure this evens out. Like, we're good and having a good time. And like, I remember, so Gloomhaven was my gateway game. And I remember, so like I had my little pandemic group who we just played Gloomhaven with. And like for the first like 10 games, it felt like we would start with, okay, here is the rule that I taught you wrong and messed up last time. And like, but it was like, yeah, great. We're learning and we're having a good time. And the integrity of the game has not been compromised. It's just, you move on and you enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. It was nice because, yeah, I definitely made the most mistakes, I think. And that's totally fine. You guys were all cool with it. And it was like, yeah, we'll just move on. It's fine. Like there was a part of me that was hesitant at one point where it's like, oh, are we going to have to like undo this or backtrack? Because I wouldn't normally do that unless other people wanted to, if that was, part of their enjoyment. But it was just like, no, just carry on. Just have fun. So you're my type of gaming group.
That makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
So yeah, we all had our own characters. What'd you think? Mine was all kind of chaos to some extent. There were dice that I could roll and it would do something random, and I had to do those things first. I didn't use those too much, but I liked when I did use them. I wish I got them earlier on. It was nice to be able to like deal damage and just do a lot of stuff on my turn. Like I had high dexterity starting out. I had 4. So I felt like I always had a lot to do.
My character was Patches. I felt like they were fun. I don't know. Like, so I thought it was the lowest complexity. And I kind of did that on purpose because I just wanted to really take in the full game mechanisms and not get so lost in my character. And I also like healers and support. I'm one of those weirdos. Like, I like feeling like I can come save the day. So anyway, so yeah, I picked Patches, and while they were definitely a healer and healer focused, like that wasn't all they did, and I enjoyed that. I think usually if your character can do a few different types of things, that's more fun. So I had like a bone saw that did some decent damage, and yeah, I actually had the highest attack for a little bit, I think, just because that's what I upgraded. Shout out to the player aid telling me to upgrade that first. So, the player aids did have some little hints at like how you should maybe first build your character. So I just did the very, very standard stuff, but it looked like my character also had some kind of more wild paths where they can kind of have more, like they had a stim pack thing and they could do kind of just more unpredictable things. I think I kind of went for the more predictable standard build this time, but it's probably what I'd explore next time.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing, right? Is that you can explore a bunch of different possibilities with one character, and there's already so many characters. I mean, it said on here that there were 4 to 7 classes, but did you have like I don't know, did the Kickstarter have more classes or something, Matt?
So there are like character expansions that you can get. And so I have many of those. I don't have all of them. I have all of them coming with, because I did the Unbreakable crowdfunding campaign and essentially just got what I didn't already have. I'm glad my husband doesn't listen to this podcast because I don't have to explain this purchase to him now. Just he knows. He knows he just doesn't love it. But yeah, but I mean, even so, like there is a ton of like replayability. So I played Pickett, who I actually don't think I've ever played before. Maybe I did on my very first game. I'll have to go back and look at my records. But there was like, so I had 4 dice that didn't exhaust. And I remember like reading that on my sheet and being like, oh, like I didn't realize this. And so there are new discoveries to be made because you're never going to be able to upgrade everything. Maybe if you play one of the longest campaigns and get an item like Skye had or something like that, maybe. But you really do have to kind of pick a path or like craziness kind of across the board and you'll still have fun regardless. But it does lend itself to lots of replay value while having, you know, a different experience.
Yeah. So there's 2 different ways to play this. As far as I understood it, there was the campaign, so you could have connecting story, right?
Yep. It basically just like turns every tyrant encounter to a little bit of a story. And that way you can actually like use the tyrant dice that you defeated as an item.
Oh.
And then there's some like, you get some boons or scars, so some persistent things that happen with your character. But you do not get to maintain like all of the abilities throughout the campaign. So
interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. What was the mode called that we just did? Just individual play or something? Or like
sure. I don't know if there's a name
scenario.
For it. The campaign is
non-campaign.
Non-campaign. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was fun. We just picked one tyrant and then went up against it, right? And did the several days. And each day, I didn't explain this, but each day you draw an encounter. We did talk about that encounter deck, but it's like either it'll be a combat or some sort of situation. And I loved that either way, it was multiple choice, almost always. But it was like, you come up to this boggy area or whatever, swamp or whatever, infested area. And there's some enemies in there. You could fight them, but you're going to start out confused. Or you could go and take the long way, but there's going to be harder enemies, but you won't be confused, right? So it was like, which way do you want to go? Different rewards. And then there's always these same rewards. But then there were other times where it was like, you're at a carnival. What do you want to do there? Or like, you need to take this passage. Do you want to do a combat? Or do you want to have these mole men or whatever they were? I don't remember what they were called. Escort you in a secret passage or something. You know, like I just loved that every day there were those choices and the thematics of it. And it made the world feel like really alive and like a full story that we were playing.
And there are I like that it doesn't shy away from like, there is this world built and you don't know every detail, but we're going to talk about stuff as if you do, you know, in references to different people or lands or things like that. But it makes me want to like play it more to understand that more. But I'm a sucker for like a campaign game and lots of lore and backstory and things like that. I'm like a role-playing game player at heart.
Yeah. I love having campaigns. I love the like unlocking new stuff and having a story and a world to explore. I think it's just beautiful in games. And this does that really well. Every item has some flavor text. Even on the player sheet, I was laughing really hard at my like destroy mode because it said, what was it? It was something to the effect of hurting others is easy when you don't feel something yourself. Something like when you don't have any feelings, something like that. And I was like, oh man, that's like dark, but like really funny flavor text for a robot to have that's fighting other things. So there was all sorts of flavor text throughout that just was brilliant and had me laugh out loud. I did not expect that, actually.
Yeah, I found it pretty entertaining. And yeah, I always agree with just letting people figure stuff out as they go instead of trying to super explain everything. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I felt like one of the encounters, just one of my only quibbles was one of the encounters was like, it might have been more interesting like if it were farther along and we had more dice, but it was like some like making a bet, but you had to be within 3, and it was just like all of us could just make foregone guesses, and there was just like no actual game to it. It was just see what happens. So I figure because there's so much randomness and order of things, and that it probably just is one of those things where it came out too early or something like that. Same with, there was one where we technically had a choice with the zombie spore dice, but like because we had it so late and we were all so poisoned already, it kind of, there really wasn't a choice. Like we kind of had to do the less bad option. So
yeah, I agree. I think if we would have come across that in like our first or second encounter, we probably would have made the other decision.
Yeah. You know, you're just going to get that with a random game. And I think that just comes with the territory. And I did like that you usually could always get something nice, you know, even if there were some drawbacks, like you're still getting training points or whatever they're called. You're still leveling up. You're still figuring stuff out. So I appreciated the fact that you're always progressing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's great. And there were definitely things like if we had lost the encounter, we wouldn't have gotten some items or something. You know, there is definitely those risks you take, but at the same time, you still get something in the end, and you still get to progress. It's not like you lose. There was one battle where I was MVP there. Both Matt and Skye had died, and I was like, well, I'm so out of luck here. Like, there is no way I am surviving this. And then I was able to pull it out and clinch that victory. It was, or cinch that victory, whatever it's, anyway, words. But yeah, that was like a really epic moment. And I felt like there was a lot of epic moments like that kind of for everybody in different ways, right? Like Skye was healing people or using his bone saw, and like you took out the really like tough enemy in that final battle that was, you know, poisoning us every round and just kind of being a nuisance. And that was like, whoa, like cool, you know, and Matt being able to score the final hit, or what was it? One of the times you just needed like one attack to finish him off, something like that.
Oh yeah, there was a moment where I absolutely had to roll. I only had one attack die.
Oh yeah,
and I had to roll an attack, not a bones.
Yeah, because I messed up. I had that random thing come up where I had to like bash an enemy and move into their spot and then move the enemy. And so that put me between you and the enemy. So you had to like use 3 actions to move around, and then which left you with only 1 die. So like, whew, it was intense, but you did it. And it was like, yes, exciting. Like there was a lot of really exciting moments with all of that. I think on this one, it was kind of hard with the like lack of battles, because in order to reduce our fungus, our infection, whatever you call it, we had to skip a turn during battle, and there were no battles. So at the end of the day, our fungus, our infection just increased, and it was like, we can do nothing about this because we are just drawing these other fun encounters. They were still really fun and entertaining, but it was one of those things that was like, frustrating a little bit, but very minor frustration and more of like fun frustration. Do you guys have any like complaints about the game?
Mm-hmm.
I have one small gripe.
Why don't you start with your gripe? I'm thinking.
Okay. So I think the art in this is really awesome, but the enemy chips and the enemy cards, I noticed that they're all just like gray. As far as from what I saw, like we were looking at the tyrants and they were all just like kind of gray scale art of an enemy.
It was like a sketch kind of. It looked like a field journal sketch kind of.
Oh, maybe that's what it is, huh?
Yeah. That's funny because I loved the art on the enemies and the chips. I thought that art was good. It was the other art I didn't care for so much. But
oh, really?
Yeah.
Like the art on the like game mats, the player mats and stuff?
Yeah, which is fine. It's more a character design thing than like a artistic skill. But I thought the sketches were really nice. Actually, I thought they were, but they were hard to pick out like from far away. But if you like held it up, like the chip in your hand, like I thought it looked pretty nice.
Yeah, I think that was my only thing with it. And it's not like there's a lot of enemies. There can only be 4 enemies on the field at one time, and the playmat isn't like massive. You generally know, as well as how tall it is, right? Because you build their health by stacking health chips. So you're like, well, the tall one's the big bad one usually. But yeah, like at a distance, the gray sketch stuff just blended together. But good point. Like I just pulled it up and I looked at it again, and I'm like, okay, I'll turn around on that, because it is like, it's like somebody just sketched the enemy, and I think that is really cool, actually. So, all right, converted.
And mine, I would say, is a little bit similar. And I don't know a way around this when your entire game is a bunch of poker chips. But it's like having to constantly go to the reference sheet to say, okay, what does this enemy power actually do? And I remember some of them from previous plays, but like definitely not all of them. So there is this constantly referring back to, but maybe this is just me needing to play the game more.
Well, there are a ridiculous amount of keywords on that thing. It was the same size as this character sheet, double-sided, all keywords.
I mean, 60 to 70 keywords, maybe more.
Yeah,
that was a lot.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's a gripe, but that's also like what I love about the game too. Like when I went into it, it was called Too Many Bones, and so I was thinking the emphasis was on the bones. Like, oh, this is going to be a big part of the gameplay, and it is. Like the rolling bones is like an important thing, but honestly, emphasis on too many. There's just like too many things everywhere. Like there's too many keywords. Extra. There's too many characters. There's too many, like, even just like the little icons on your character sheet for like that explain what your dice do. There's too many of those. But I say that there's too many enemies. But I say that all lovingly, because that's what I loved about it. Like it was just overwrought in like this beautiful way that was just like, it made you feel like anything could happen and you didn't know what to expect, and everything felt so custom and tailored, and yeah, like I loved it. But yeah, going back to the keyword sheet over and over again was a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as far as the bones are concerned, I think bones is like an antiquated colloquialism for dice.
For dice, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's that aspect of things, too.
And you know what? I would also say the dice didn't matter. Now, what you said, it sounds like there were some other interesting things they did with the dice, like...
Yeah, but it's like every once in a while in an encounter.
Yeah. But I was actually surprised how little the dice mattered in a weird way. Like they did, but like so many of them were like flat, like 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 0, So like in a way, yeah, like they mattered for sure, but it wasn't like a lot of dice games. I'm just used to a little more, differentiation between the dice themselves. And a lot of it was like, I'm attacking, I know I'm probably going to do about 2 damage, maybe 3, and maybe 0 if I'm extremely unlucky. But the probabilities were a little more flat than I would expect from a dice game. But that's not necessarily a negative. Like that makes it not quite as like intensely random all the time.
Yeah. And I have read some criticism that like the most powerful build is focusing just on your core stats and improving those rather than the skills.
Yeah.
But that also is the least fun way to play.
Yeah.
I had thought about that for just a second when I was doing it. And I was like, I already regret how much I've invested in here. Like, I want my skills. Those seem like the more fun things to do. It was like, I needed health. I knew that. I needed at least one more. Well, I didn't even need an attack. I shouldn't have done another attack. I should have just invested more into like my skills, because those attacked, and I should have been happy with that. But
next time.
Yeah, next time. That's the thing, right? Explore it and find what works with what character. In a campaign, do you play the same character each game? Is that what you're supposed to do, or is it just whatever?
I can't remember if you are supposed to or not, but that's what we did.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I've only done the campaign once, though.
Makes sense. How is it solo?
Oh, it's good. Like, there's still like the puzzle element of things, you're figuring out how to defeat exactly like the situation that's been placed in front of you. I usually do two-handed solo, though, to explore more of the characters.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Kind of like, a lot of people do that with Spirit Island. I started doing that more recently with Spirit Island because it does add a lot. Same with Marvel Champions. Like, being able to do two-handed solo is a good thing.
Yeah.
And how they combo off of each other. Like, I thought there was some nice comboing and complementing of each other's skills. Let's see. Components were real great. I mean, everything on here, aces, incredible production. I mean, from the game trays to the mouse pad to the dice, everything was real nice. The chips, all of that. But yeah, like you said, the health chips, are they just cardboard in the normal one?
They're like the kind of cheap plastic poker chips.
Oh, well, that's still decent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't complain about that. So, okay.
You would now that you have played with the premium ones.
Yeah, probably would.
It just feels so nice in your hand.
They totally do.
Have a nice heft.
Yeah.
Yes.
Overall thoughts. Should we close this out soon here?
So I'll just kind of come back to the same idea I was getting at earlier, but like I think a good encapsulation of like what I love and what's ridiculous about this game is like the rules about like camping or resting or whatever you call it, because it's like you can like go scouting, you can heal, there's like all these different options. You can like exchange your loot for a different one. But then there's like also like lock picking, and the lock picking was like you could make a small game out of the lock picking itself. Like it was just like its own little funny lock game or fun little dice game. That was actually the most like dicey part of the game to me was the lock picking, which is just you can sometimes get loot that you pick the lock for. Like I don't know, I just loved that it was so unexpected, that there were so many systems. Not a lot of games make you feel like you're playing a role-playing game. I think that's actually hard for a lot of board games because you want to trim stuff off. But like this really had the feeling of like, no, I'm living in this crazy world and got to do all these different crazy things. And I really liked that.
I agree. I totally spaced bringing up the loot, the treasure troves, doing that, and that they all have. I loved that they all had different difficulties on them, right? Like, and that they weren't all the same. Like from mine and yours, it was like a 3, 5, 6 type thing. It got or 3, 4, 5, whatever. It got harder with each one, but then Matt's was like 2, 6, 4 or something. Like it wasn't built exactly the same, so it made it. It just was interesting. I thought that was a clever choice, and the whole lock picking thing was entertaining at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Matt, do you want to give your final thoughts?
Sure. I mean, I love this game. I've kind of gone all in at this point, and so that's pretty obvious. But definitely the most fun I've had playing it is with the two of you, with the highlight being the Too Many Bones cake.
Yeah, we went to Harmon's before, my wife and I was joking like, I want to bring some snacks or something. Matt's providing dinner, so I feel like I should bring some sort of snack. And so I was like thinking gummy bears or something. And then I just joked that, and we were over by the cakes, and I was like, maybe I should just get like a cake and just write like game night or Too Many Bones on it. So I bought a little birthday. I don't know if it was a birthday cake, whatever. I bought a cake, and then we bought some writing. What do you call that? Icing, yeah. And then wrote Too Many Bones on it.
It was incredible.
Yeah, there'll definitely be a picture on Twitter when I post this episode. So, yeah, thanks for. Don't encourage that. Don't encourage me. What I wanted to do was do a mocktail. So I thought about trying to make a mocktail that was themed to the game, but I didn't have enough time to do the research.
Yeah, notes of bones,
I'll get some bone meal and just like powder it into some fruit, some I don't know, apple juice.
Delicious.
That sounds great.
Delicious.
Were those your final thoughts then?
Yeah.
You good? Okay.
Yeah. But I love, I've played this solo a fair amount of times, but much more fun with people, especially people I like.
Yeah. We're okay.
You're okay. You're fine.
Yeah, I absolutely loved this game. I was telling my wife this morning, based on this one play, I was like, this could probably be a top 5 game for me.
Whoa.
So it was, and part of that, right? It's the whole, when you play with the right people, a game is even more fun. It was really entertaining. We were making jokes. We were having fun. There was just like a lot going on. There was just a lot going on that was fun about it. The whole experience. Maybe if I played it by myself, I'd be like, yeah, this is fun. It definitely wouldn't be as fun without you guys, of course. But yeah, I see a lot of potential there. Like it made me feel like I was playing an RPG, that I was picking locks, that I was making these A or B decisions. It's a little limited there, but of course it's a game, a board game. It's not like there's a dungeon master or game master running it. So there was a lot of interesting decisions, and I am so mad at myself. I told you guys this, but like last year, this was at my local game store, and they eventually, they weren't selling it and they needed to make some room. And so they put it on their clearance, and it sat there, and eventually they took it off even more. And I think it was 30% off. I was just like, I don't know. I want to love this game, but I don't know that Kimmy would love it. And I do think it's a little too heavy for her, at least the character sheet thing. I think if she could get past that, she would like it. But I regret not getting that so bad, because this game is totally my jam. I love it. And after playing this, I may even go and Matt, you backed the Elder Scrolls campaign.
Yeah.
And even still, I'm thinking maybe I'll talk to Kimmy and be like, I might want this Elder Scrolls one, because that's like a thing that I love, an IP that I love. So, and it looks to have sort of similar type things, though it seems a little less. In some ways, it seems a little more simplified than this.
Yeah, I do think it was highly influenced by, though. I think that they've said that.
Okay, yeah.
At least mechanically.
So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. And maybe it's enough of a difference too, where it's not like a simplified version of it, but just like something new using the same idea.
Yeah. But in the meantime, come over anytime. You're only 10 minutes away.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Skye. We're starting a campaign.
It's all good. I'll come when I can, but it is a little bit more of a jaunt for me. So
yeah. We can, we can arrange stuff off of air, but we can always meet somewhere in the middle too. Matt and I can drive together. So
we are capable of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that is it then. Too many bones. Hey, that first impressions for Matt or for Skye and I, definitely a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
20th impressions for Matt, still a win, right?
Still a win.
All right. Well, why don't you guys go ahead and plug what you've got? Social media campaigns. Paperback 10th anniversary just ended yesterday from when this airs.
Yeah.
And it's free or cheap digitally right now.
Yeah. So
I saw Tim post about that.
Yeah.
So I hopped on.
We just hit the 200K goal. We kind of just set one really high stretch bonus this time that was kind of more of just a gift to, people who support Fowers games, just because we'd already packed so much into this new updated edition. So we just didn't feel like doing the whole stretch goals game, So yeah, I think it's going to be free on the App Store for a few days after this episode airs. So I guess go check it out and see if that's the case. But it's right now it's also cheap on Steam and Android as well. So anyways, yeah, that's probably it for me. You can find me on Twitter Rob the Skye _games, as long as Twitter's still around for a while. And that's probably the best way to get in contact with me.
And I got nothing to plug. I'm just a dude. So,
the best dude.
Oh, sure. With all my famous board game community friends. So, yeah, I'm also on Twitter.
Yeah, I was going to say plug your Twitter if you want.
I think it's the Dinger Plays Games. I split my Twitter worlds, and so I have multiple Twitters, which makes me probably seem like even more of a creep. But yeah, that's me. But I don't really post. I just I'll respond to things that people do. I don't have a lot to say. I just like having fun. Yeah. So I'll plug Paperback Adventures.
Oh gosh.
and next time I'll tell the story about how I was talking about how much I love Paperback Adventures to Skye, having no idea that he was the designer.
Oh yeah.
That was a good moment for me. That was great.
Very exciting. I mean, this is a great game. Dinger rate my game.
Oh yeah, Dinger ate my game.
Oh, Dinger ate my game. That's what it is. 8.
Yes, because my real Twitter is the Dinger ate my baby. So, yes.
Nice.
It's the Dinger ate my game.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then for me, you can find me on Twitter at Riled Nerd. You can listen to Friend and Foe Adventure Co. and Immaturely Mature Bunkers and Badasses podcast. That has been a lot of fun lately. So go check that out if you're interested in that. It's been really entertaining lately. And then I think that's really it. Review the podcast if you have Apple Good Pods or Spotify. That helps the show get seen, or at least it used to. I heard that some of the algorithms changed. But I still appreciate seeing all the, positive reviews. And that's it. So until next time, keep nerding out. Last night while we were playing, Skye, his character's name was Patches, and so he just kept singing,
Patches, 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 patches.
Patches, 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 patches. I love